All right, guys. So let's jump into stage 13 of Cambridge Latin, right? This is where we move away from the fires of Pompeii and we go to some of the provinces, specifically Britain. In this video, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be covering the usage of the infinitive, specifically taking what's called a complementary infinitive or prolative infinitive and going over our model sentences for stage 13. So what we should do, and so specifically, we're going to have these three words: wolo, nolo, and possum taking infinitive. So we'll see that in the next slide. So about the language. So the verb wolo is where we get the word volunteer, voluntary, and even the word will from. More or less, it has a common ancestor, although through Germanic rather than through Latin. Nolo means I do not want. So you see that n negating, and you see possum means to be able, right? And all these are irregular verbs. They're all irregular, so you just got to remember them, although their endings are the same. So always that OST mostisnit. Also, we know that possum is where we get the word potential or possible from. So it's a good way to remember it. Now, these three words are really, really useful because they often take an infinitive. An infinitive is a verbal noun. It's any form of the verb in Latin that ends with an RE that means to do something. So, for example, cantare right here is to sing, udere is to see, currere is to run, and punire is to punish. These are the four conjugations of verbs right there, but they're all going to have that RE ending for regular infinitives. And if you say I want in English, you automatically are going to think about, well, I want something. So that thing is usually either a noun, or if it is an action, it is a verbal, it's a verbal action, that is to say verbal noun. So it's going to be, so you could say I want singing, I want a song, right? That's the thing that you want. But if you want it to be an action as opposed to a physical object, you would say, I would want to sing, right? I do not want to see. And then because infinitives are verbal, even though they're verbal nouns, they're still verbs, they can take direct objects. So notice that they say that the sedue is the subject of nolent, the slaves do not want, videre, to see. And then that videre is going to take its own infinitive right here in the accusative is dominum. Right? So all of these, we're going to, again, read it. The main verb is going to be at the end. The subordinate verb, so the infinitive that's subordinate to our indicative verb, so possum there, is going to be right before it. The subject is going to be first, and then adverb is going to be right in between there. So pueri, the boys, are able, right, to run celeriter, quickly. And celeriter is an adverb that is modifying running, right? So it's not they're able quickly, but they're able to run quickly. It's modifying or it's clarifying how they're running. And the same way with the salvis potest punire brigantum. So salvius is able to punish brigantum. So the receiver of the punishment is brigantum, not the receiver of the ability. You can more or less think of this whole infinitive phrase as the direct object. It's more or less as the direct object of potest. It's probably the easiest way to do that. So let's go ahead and jump into the model sentences. So the first one here is hic vir est Gaius Salvius Liberalis. So this man is Gaius Salvius Liberalis. We know that they're both in the nominative because it's both it's a predicate nominative with est, and hic is a demonstrative pronoun modifying vir. Right? Salvius in villa magnifica habitat. So Salvius lives in a magnificent villa. So it's a locatival ablative, and we know that habitat is where we get the word habitate or inhabitate from. Villa est in Britannia. So in Britannia, just like in villa, it's a prepositional phrase that's locatival. So the house is in Britain. Salvius multus servus habet. So Salvius has many slaves. So these are both accusative plurals. The multus is the adjective, the servus is the noun. Uxor est Rufilla. So the wife is Rufilla, although probably for translating this in English, we'll add in a possessive pronoun. So his wife is Rufilla. Notice that uxor is third declension right there, so you can't tell that it's feminine, but you can tell because Rufilla is in the feminine right there. So Rufilla multas ancillas habet. So Rufilla has many female slaves, right? Again, both accusative plurals right there. You can tell with those as endings, and you can tell that those are feminine accusative plurals, unlike the multos up here, which are masculine accusative plurals. Ancilla in villa laboran. So another locatable prepositional phrase there, in plus appellative. So the female slaves work in the house. So here's our nominative subject, that's our verb, and that's the prepositional phrase. Hic servus est varica. Okay, we've got another demonstrative pronoun, hic modifying servus. So this slave is verica. So again, another predicate nominative. Notice that verica has that second declension, it's first declension, so it looks like it's feminine, but we can tell that this is one of those first declension names that's actually masculine because servus is in the masculine right there. Okay, Varica est vilicus. So verica is it's an overseer. That's probably the best way to translate that. So he's specifically a slave that manages other slaves on a farm. Okay. Vilicus, vilam et servos curat. So the vilicus, the overseer, cares for the house and the slaves. Right? So notice that this verb, so vilicus is our subject, curat is our verb. We can see over here with our little guide to everything, so our commentary to the words. He cares for two separate things. So vilam is the one direct object, and it's the singular direct object, et servos. He also cares for the slaves, which is an accusative plural direct object. Cool. Here we go. We've got another slave. Hic servus est pilus. So this slave, another demonstrative pronoun, modifying servus, this slave is philos. So pilus calidus est. Okay, so literally this says clever philos is. But we're not going to translate it like that. We're going to translate it as philos is clever. So this is a predicate adjective. It's describing philos, what kind of slave philos is. Philos numerare potest. And here we go. We've got our first sentence that has that indicative verb potest, taking that complementary, or also called a prolative infinitive. So philos is able to count. And by counting, he means like doing household mathematics. Right? So he's able to count. And we can see right there he's got an abacus. That's pretty cool. Also, you can make a note that Philos is a Greek. He's a Greek there. So and this guy right here, we can see down here from the way they depict him, he's Egyptian. And this fellow down here is going to be a Celt. He's going to be from Britain himself. So we can see that slavery in the ancient world is fairly broadly spread from all over the places that the people lived. It wasn't particularly cultural. It was more class-based, or if you happen to be a group of people that were conquered in war. Okay, and many slaves, as you can tell from this, also they were quite well educated. They could do particularly good things. They're the sort of things that you would imagine actually are more like what we would call our lower income jobs, or sometimes our higher income jobs. You talk about how slaves could get quite wealthy in Rome. So here we go. Next sentence. Hic servus est volubilis. So this slave, another demonstrative pronoun, is volubilis. Volubius coccus optimus est. So volubilis is a very good cook, or the best cook. This is a superlative adjective, so you can translate it as either way. And it's modifying coccus. And this right here is the predicate nominative. So it's describing who volubilis is. Volubilis canem optimum coquere potest. So here we go. We've got another main indicative verb taking a complementary or prolative infinitive. So, and this is the direct object of that infinitive. So we'll see. Volubilis is able to cook very good, or the best dinner. Right? So what we have here is our main verb. So volubilis is the subject. Our main verb is potest. Coquere, to cook, is the infinitive that goes off of potest, and the direct object of that infinitive is canem optimum, so the best dinner. All right, and here we go. We've got the last fellow right here is hic servus est bregans. So this slave is bregans. Bregans non calidus est. Bregans, here we go. Non is an adverb. It's negating this. So Bregans is not clever. Right? I love Bregans. He's not the sharpest tool in the shed, which is why he doesn't do anything particularly special. What he does, well, we'll see what he can't do more of. Bregans non numerare non potest. So Bregans is not able to count. Notice that non is negating potest. So it's he's not able to count, as opposed to he's able to not count. So it's going to be non is negating potest. So Bregens is not able to count. Bregens fessus est. Bregens is tired. Right? He's a tired slave, which is maybe suggesting that he's a tad bit lazy, right? Bregens dormire volt. So here we go. Here's main subject is Bregens. Volt is our main indicative verb, and dormire is our complementary infinitive. So Bregens wants to sleep. All right. Here we go. We've got a couple more slaves here. These guys are funny. I've always liked these two. They remind me a bit of something out of almost like something out of Dr. Seuss. So hic servus est loquax. So this slave is loquax. Loquax vocem suavem habet. So loquax has a sweet voice. He has a sweet voice. So this is the accusative direct object. These are third declensions, right? So we get this main verb, main form is vox. You might know the term vox populi. That's where this comes from. So it's a direct object of habet. So loquax habet vocem suavem. He has a sweet voice. Loquax suaviter cantare potest. So loquax is able to sing sweetly. Okay, again, we've got our main verb plus, and that's our infinitive. And then remember, ter endings are going to be adverbs. All right, hic servus est antiloquax. So this slave is antiloquax. Antiloquax agilis est. So antiloquax is agile, right? He's easily able to move around, but he can't sing, unfortunately. So agilis is going to be predicate nominative modifying antiloquax with est. Antiloquax optime saltare potest. So what this means is antiloquax is able to dance saltare. You can think of salsa dancing if you want to, or exalted. Both of those will probably give you a good sense of how to remember salto. Optime, and optime is an adverb modifying saltare. So antiloquax is able to dance very well, or and extremely well, the best. Loquax et antiloquax sunt gemini. So these are the two subjects. Loquax and antiloquax are brothers. They're twins. Okay, and also, by the way, their names. Loquax means talkative. You might know the word loquacious, so that indicates that he's a singer. Antiloquax means more or less against talking. So it's he's not a talkative fellow, and that's why he's a dancer. There's a little bit of fun in these names sometimes. And then last but not least, we've got number 9. Here we go. Salvus multos servus habet. So Salvius has many slaves. Here's our accusative direct objects. Servi laborant. The slaves are working. Servi ignavi et feci sunt. So the slaves are lazy and tired. Again, this is a bit of a trope from the ancient world. We get this from comedy. The slaves are often depicted this way. They play it up for laughs, which is kind of an interesting thing, because some of the comedies that we have written in ancient Rome were in fact written by former slaves. So it's a bit odd that they depict slaves that way. Anyway, servi laborare nolunt. So these slaves do not want to work. So that's our final indicative verb plus an infinitive. The slaves do not want to work. Alrighty, guys. So that is our introduction there, and those are our model sentences. I will see you in our next video.